The night is quiet. The room around you is dim, perhaps lit by a single lamp or the soft glow of moonlight. You are ready to set aside the burdens of the day, to drift into another time. A time of stone streets, wooden beams, and the faint smell of smoke from the hearth. Tonight, we step not into castles or monasteries, but into the towns of the Middle Ages. Here, life thrived between narrow alleys and timber-bird houses. The clang of hammers, the rhythm of chisels, and the scent of bread from the baker's oven filled the air. It was in these towns that trades were learned, passed from master to apprentice, from one generation to the next. But beneath the hum of industry, there was hardship. To be an apprentice was not a gentle journey. It was a life of discipline, obedience, and long hours that tested both body and spirit. Over the next 2 hours, we will wander slowly through this world. We will begin by walking in the shoes of an apprentice, feeling the weight of duty, the grind of labor, and the silence of obedience. Then, we will follow the life of a great master mason, William of Sens, whose ambition shaped one of the greatest cathedrals of England. We will search through the traces left behind in the dirt of history, the awls, chisels, and tokens of forgotten guild workshops. And finally, we will climb to the tables of the guildmasters, where privilege and wealth contrasted sharply with the meager lives of those who served them. The town is waiting. The bells ring softly in the distance. A shop door creaks open. Let us begin. The year is long ago, in the heart of the Middle Ages. You are young, perhaps 12, perhaps 14. Your parents have made arrangements. A contract signed, a handshake sealed. You are to live, not at home, but with your master, bound to him for years. Your old life ends with a farewell. Your new life begins in a workshop. The first thing you notice is the smell. It lingers heavy in the air. The sharp tang of wood shavings, the smoky bitterness of metal heated in the forge, the earthy dampness of leather, wool, or dye. It fills your nose, clings to your clothes, seeps into your skin. You sleep in your master's household, often on a straw mattress tucked into a corner, rising when he rises, eating when he eats. But the food is not yours to choose. It is plain, sometimes meager, and always earned through labor. From dawn until dusk, your hands are never still. If you are apprenticed to a smith, you pump the bellows, carry heavy water buckets, fetch coal, and hold tools. If you are apprenticed to a carpenter, you sweep shavings, sand wood until your arms ache, and run errands through narrow streets. If you are apprenticed to a tailor, you cut thread, fetch cloth, and learn to stitch over and over until the movements numb your fingers. The work is endless, and you are at the bottom. Your master commands, and you obey. If you falter, he corrects you sharply. If you complain, he reminds you that obedience is your duty. Sometimes the correction is stern words, sometimes a cuff to the ear, sometimes silence that weighs heavier than speech. You are not paid. Your labor is the payment for your training. For years, you will endure this until the day when, if you endure, you may become a journeyman, free to travel, to earn wages, to learn further. But that day is far away. For now, you live by rules. The guilds dictate your training, and your master enforces them. You cannot marry. You cannot strike out on your own. Your freedom is bound tight, like rope around a bundle. There are moments of quiet, even beauty. The rhythm of the workshop becomes almost meditative. The ringing of hammer on anvil, the rasp of saw on wood, the measured stitch of thread through cloth. Repetition dulls the ache, lulls the mind. In those moments, you begin to understand the craft, the way tools become extensions of the body, the way work creates shape, order, and meaning. And yet, it is a hard life. You are an apprentice, low in the order of things. Your days belong to your master, your future to the guild. You do not yet know whether you will succeed, whether you will endure long enough to claim the title of master yourself, but each morning you rise again. Each evening you collapse into straw, weary, your hands sore, your body aching. This is your world. The shop, the tools, the discipline, the silence. It is a life of struggle, but also of slow shaping, as much of yourself as of wood, stone, or iron. And so you endure, because that is the path of the apprentice. The clang of hammers fades. The apprentices sleep in their corners, the workshops grow still. But beyond the narrow streets of town, another sound rises into the night. It is the echo of chisels striking stone, scaffolding creaking in the wind, and voices chanting prayers beneath unfinished vaults. This is the cathedral. And here we meet a man named William of Sens, a master mason, a builder of visions, a craftsman who dared to lift stone toward heaven. William was born in France in the 12th century. Little is known of his early life, but we may imagine it. The same apprenticeship you yourself endured. The same years of carrying tools, of learning to read stone as if it were scripture. But William excelled. His hands and mind worked as one, seeing not just walls and towers, but the geometry of the sky itself. In time, his reputation carried him across the Channel to England. There, in the city of Canterbury, a tragedy had shaken the land. The shrine of Thomas Becket, murdered in his own cathedral, had become a place of pilgrimage. The church needed rebuilding, not only as a house of worship, but as a monument to the saint whose blood still lingered in memory. And so, William of Sens was called. Picture him standing before the ruined choir of Canterbury Cathedral. The stones cracked, the air thick with the dust of destruction. The monks of Canterbury looked to him with expectation, and William answered. He brought with him the style of France, soaring pointed arches, slender columns, ribbed vaults that seemed to float like wings of stone. It was new, bold, almost unthinkable. Under his direction, the cathedral began to rise again. Imagine the scaffolding towering into the air, the ropes and pulleys creaking as stones were lifted, the masons balancing on beams high above the ground, each block carved with care, each arch measured with precision, the sound of chisels like music echoing against half-finished walls. For William, this was not only labor, it was vision. He carried in his mind a cathedral that would outlast him, a house of God where pilgrims would walk in awe. Their eyes lifted toward the light of stained glass, their prayers carried upward on the vaults of stone. But the work was perilous. And William's life, though marked by ambition, was also marked by tragedy. In the year 1177, while inspecting his work upon the scaffolding, William fell. The wood gave way beneath him. The air rushed past. He struck the ground, his body broken. Imagine the silence that followed. The masons rushing to his side, the monks kneeling in prayer, the cathedral standing unfinished above them. William did not die immediately. For months he lingered, directing the work from his bed, his mind still building even as his body failed. But at last the injury claimed him. The cathedral continued without him, carried on by others, but his vision remained. The soaring choir of Canterbury stands even now as a testament to his ambition, his skill, and his sacrifice. William of Sens was both master and mortal. A man who dreamed of heaven, yet fell to earth. A reminder that medieval craft was not only discipline, but danger, not only beauty, but risk. And so, when you walk among the stones of Canterbury or any great cathedral, listen closely. The echoes are still there, the chisels, the scaffolding, and perhaps the faint whisper of William himself, the master mason who built with both his hands and his life. The cathedral stones grow quiet. The echo of chisels fades into the past. Now we turn to what remains, not in soaring arches or gilded glass, but in the soil beneath our feet. Archaeologists dig where workshops once stood. Their spades turn the earth. Their brushes sweep dust from forgotten fragments. And slowly, the tools of the guilds emerge. A small iron awl, its point worn smooth by endless use. A mason's chisel, broken at the edge, discarded when it could carve no more. A wooden ruler, warped with time, its markings faint but still visible. Objects that once shaped cathedrals, houses, bridges, and ships. These tools are humble, yet they carry weight. Each bears the memory of hands that once held them, of apprentices who sweated over them, of masters who judged the results. To hold such an object is to touch the rhythm of medieval life itself. But not only tools remain, tokens too. Small discs of lead or bronze, sometimes marked with strange designs. K may have been guild counters, used in teaching or in reckoning accounts. K may have been the badges of apprentices, proof of their place in the order of work. The mystery lingers, unsolved, whispered through these fragments. Think of a leather worker's shop. The knives are sharp, their blades thin and curved. Fragments of leather scraps are found in the earth, cut into shapes that once became shoes, belts, or book bindings. The smell of hide still clings faintly, even after centuries. Or a tailor's workshop. Small iron needles, bent and broken, recovered from the dirt. Simple things, but essential. Without them, cloth could not become garment, and bare bodies could not be clothed against the cold. In some places, archaeologists find grindstones, worn smooth with sharpening. Every tool, no matter how finely made, dulled with use. The grindstone hummed with the rhythm of life, renewing edges again and again until it too wore down to nothing. These are the traces of a hidden world, the everyday world of work. Not the grandeur of kings, nor the sanctity of monks, but the quiet, repetitive labor that filled the lives of apprentices and journeymen. Close your eyes and imagine those workshops. The smell of wood smoke. The sound of hammer on iron, saw on timber, thread pulling through cloth. The apprentices fetching water, carrying logs, sweeping floors. The masters leaning over their benches, squinting at the fine lines of a carving, the steady curve of a stitch. Now imagine it all vanished. The people gone, the buildings fallen, the tools buried. And centuries later, a spade turns the earth and out comes a fragment, a chisel, a needle, a token. A whisper from the past, return to the light. The tools of the guilds remind us, history is not only written in chronicles and charters. It is written in the worn handles of knives, the broken tips of chisels, the tokens that once passed from hand to hand. They are the memory of work, the memory of those who built, crafted, and endured. And just as the tools contrast with the grandeur of cathedrals, so too do the men who used them stand in contrast with those who feasted above them. For now, we leave the buried tools behind and walk slowly into the great halls of the guildmasters. There banquets await. There privilege gleams against the shadows of toil. The earth closes once more over the lost tools. The awls and chisels rest in silence. And now we turn our steps upward, away from the dim workshops and into the halls of the guildmasters. The town is alive with contrast. By day, apprentices labor in narrow rooms, their hands raw, their eyes weary. By night, the masters of the guild gather in long halls lit by flickering torches, where food and wine are set upon heavy wooden tables. You enter quietly. The hall is filled with voices, not the quiet murmurs of prayer, but the low hum of feasting. Roasted meat lies steaming on the platters, bread loaves stacked high, pitchers of ale passed from hand to hand. The masters sit in fur-lined cloaks, their rings catching the firelight, their laughter soft but confident. This is the world of privilege. For the guild was not only a fellowship of craftsmen, it was also a ladder, and at its top stood men who held wealth, influence, and respect. Banquets served a purpose. They were rituals of belonging. Here, masters met to decide matters of trade, to settle disputes, to welcome new members, or to plan the future of their craft. But they were also displays, moments when the guild showed its strength, its prosperity, its place in the town. The apprentices and journeymen rarely saw these feasts. They may have heard the music drifting through the doors, smelled the roasted meat from afar. But they themselves ate little, their meals of bread and porridge taken in silence, far from the laughter of the master's hall. And yet, the guilds claimed to protect them. The structure was strict, binding, but it gave shape to life. An apprentice could, in time, become a journeyman. A journeyman, through years of toil and proof of skill, might one day become a master. It was a slow climb, a long ascent. Few reached the top, but the hope of it kept the order steady. Picture the merchant guilds of great cities. Their masters did not only feast, they ruled. They set prices, controlled trade, and sometimes even governed the city itself. Their halls were as splendid as noble courts, with banners, carved beams, and painted walls. Theirs was a different kind of power, not born of sword or crown, but of coin and craft. Now, listen closely. The voices of the masters soften. The banquet grows quieter. The candles burn lower, their wax dripping slowly down. Outside, the streets are still narrow, still dark, still cold. Apprentices sleep on straw. Journeymen wander, seeking work. The contrast lingers, sharp but unspoken. The guild hall and the workshop. The master's feast and the apprentice's hunger. The privileges of wealth, the burdens of labor. This was the truth of medieval apprenticeships. A world of discipline and drudgery, of ambition and mastery, of tools buried and halls raised, a rhythm of endurance and reward, of silence and of song. And now, the guild hall fades. The laughter of the masters drifts into silence. The smell of roasted meat dissolves into memory. The tools lie once more in the earth, waiting for centuries to pass before they are found again. The apprentices return to their work, the journeymen to their wandering, the masters to their wealth. You too may now return to your own rest. Let the rhythm of medieval life slip away, its sounds and textures dissolving into calm. The narrow streets, the workshops, the banquets, all fade like smoke into the night. The Middle Ages are far behind. The room around you is quiet. The day is done. Rest now. Sleep well.